All right. You guys, welcome. Um, I'm gonna begin shortly, so you can share the live and let's get going. This is a Caribbean update. Gonna speak on some matters in Trinidad. We're gonna speak with some matters in Jamaica as well, and some other issues that are happening across the region. You know, I want to start first with Trinidad and Tobago. We had an earthquake of 7.6 magnitude on Saturday night, evening. And sometimes people really ought to take some responsibility for things. But I'll get into that shortly. You know, on the screen, Dr. Rowley from Trinidad and Tobago. And he said that the region is lucky after a 7.6 weekend earthquake. And Dr. Rowley is quite correct. Let me say good evening to those in the chat. Shepherd's News of Elohim. Shai, top of the evening to you as well. Hope that you guys are fine and you can share the live and get your friends on to the live. I'll be taking calls later on following my discussion here. Dr. Rowley is quite correct, and I'll tell you why Dr. Rowley is correct. The region does not have a tsunami warning system. It does not. But by the time I'm finished here today, you'll understand why it doesn't have one. And I'll tell you when the first move was made to have one and who rejected it, basically. But Dr. Rowley was very, 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 very correct. And so, because of that, you look at the situation in Jamaica, where it was said by the opposition that the people weren't warned about the tsunami. They weren't given any tsunami warning. They did not know about the tsunami warning. And I'll tell you what the ODPM says in Jamaica, what the people in charge of that are saying, and why I think sometimes public servants really, I tell you, boy, if you study these people in this life today, you go mad. But most persons have been asking me, how does the tsunami warning system actually work? How does it work? And on the screen, you will see something there. And I'll explain it to you what's going on. Let me say good evening to Sherry and it Baron as well as online. Let me explain this to you what is on the screen. This is basically a tsunami warning system. So what you have in the bottom left-hand corner is what you call a recorder. And it sits on the seabed. And it monitors changes in pressure. And it can detect tsunamis as small as 1 centimeter. That's how good it is. So what you have on the seabed is called a recorder. It monitors the changes in pressure, and it can detect tsunamis as small as 1 centimeter. That's very, very small. That's how sensitive the recorder is. It sits on the seabed. Now, from the recorder, the data is sent to a buoy. And most of you who live around fishing villages know what a buoy is. You know, that acoustic link transmit data to a moored surface buoy. So this buoy is there anchored, but it's on the surface. It has an antenna as well on top of it. So it gets the data from the bottom. It sends it to the buoy. The buoy has an antenna that's above sea level. And now that buoy transmit that data to the satellite. It transmits the data to the satellite, and the satellite transmits that data to the ground station. And that is how you end up getting your information to know that a tsunami is in progress, that a tsunami is on the way, right? So I'm just giving you a bit of information because a lot of persons have been asking me, how do they get the information to know that a tsunami is on its way? Well, of course, we take our information from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. That is thousands and thousands of miles away from the Caribbean because we don't have one in the Caribbean. We do not have one in the Caribbean. So that's thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. And that is who we rely on. That is who we rely on to get data from. Okay? So once again, this is how the tsunami warning system operates. And I'm going to tell you about the Caribbean. Now, why we don't have one here, because I've been doing some digging and I found out some information which is very interesting. And so, why does the Caribbean? Why is it that we don't have a tsunami warning system in the Caribbean? We have a lot of islands in the Caribbean. A lot of people live on the coastal regions of these islands, meaning that they're in grave danger from hurricanes, tsunamis. Earthquakes are a different thing. You can't predict that. It just happens. But as a result of the earthquake, you can have tsunamis, of course. Now, remember to share this live, because a lot of people tell me that they depend on the information from this channel for a lot of things, because sometimes they don't even know it's happening. News, they don't get the news, so they don't know what's happening sometimes. They check out the channel. So share the live, okay? And remember to leave your comments in the section. Now, why isn't there a warning system for the Caribbean? That's a question a lot of people have been asking. And I would tell you that some do argue that it is a simple matter of logistical basically, or financial oversight. Some people say that. But when you dig a little deeper, like I always do, the situation tends to take on a more different scenario. This Caribbean that we live in, a lot of us, sits on top of a geological fault line. Like so many other regions on the earth, tectonic plates, they're constantly shifting and they're creating volatile environment for earthquakes. And by extension, tsunamis. As a matter of fact, the tsunami that the earthquake that we had on Saturday night, we really have to praise the Almighty that it was just plates sliding across each other and not the dip fault that they usually have, where one plate slides down and the other goes up. Because if that was the situation, I am telling you, with a 7.6 magnitude quake, we have been talking some different stuff here today in this Caribbean here where we live. And I'm very, very mindful that these days that we live in, a lot of people don't like to believe it. They don't like to hear about it. But these times that we're living in, yes, we're going to see more and more of these things. And they are going to get even worse. We haven't seen anything yet. But I'm going to continue with this as to the reason why we don't have a tsunami warning system in the Caribbean. Now, you would think that with so many coastal islands, the need for a warning system would be paramount. Yet the region remains woefully unprepared. And the question that you have to ask is, why? Why is our region unprepared? Why is our region so woefully unprepared? After these islands, a lot of people live on the coastal lines of these islands. Majority of the population in these islands, they live on the coast. A lot of people don't want to go in the interior and live, They live on the coastline. So I will tell you why we didn't have a tsunami warning system. And when I dig for this information, take a trip back in time to the early 1980s. Go back to the 1980s. The United Nations first pushed for a regional tsunami warning system. I bet a lot of you did not even know that. In the 1980s, the United Nations pushed for a regional tsunami warning system. A lot of you did not know that. And on paper, it seemed like a no-brainer, because if you were to have a network of sensors across the region that could detect underwater earthquakes and trigger the alerts to evacuate the coastal areas, that is something that I mean, a lot of people are doing things like that. No. But here's where things get curious. The idea did not gain traction. Could you believe that? Could you believe that an idea pushed by the United Nations for a regional tsunami warning system here in this Caribbean did not gain traction? Could you believe that? Hmm? Could you believe that? It didn't gain traction. Some islands actually accepted it, but the larger powers in the region did not. And in particularly this region, this Western Hemisphere, the United States seemed less than enthusiastic about it, and so it did not come about. Yeah, same great United States of America. Same great United States of America. The same United States of America that right now, many of our people from the Caribbean are having a lot of problems right now. Huh? I'm telling you, this is the information I digged up. A lot of you did not know that. Now, a lot of you might think that this was a matter of funding or political red tape. You get me? A lot of you might think that this was just a funding issue, be expensive, or political red tape. But no, it wasn't that. It was something more strategic than just political red tape. You all need to know that this Caribbean here, and I think by now many of you know, that this Caribbean here is located in close proximity to the Gulf of Mexico. The same place where they're now trying to say it's called the Gulf of America. The Gulf of Mexico is home to a vast reserves of oil and natural gas. And certain nations, those with significant geopolitical interest in this region here, are not eagerly ready to draw attention to the full scope of the seismic danger that we're in this Caribbean here. You hear me? So if you have a widespread tsunami warning system, it is going to raise a lot of awareness to the risk of drilling, oil exploration, and even the strategic positioning of military assets. That is what they said, you know. But it's funny because in the Pacific, where they have the Pacific warning system, there's a lot of fault lines over there. There's a lot of fault lines in that part of the world, but they're military assets over there. So why would they say that if you place one in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico, it is going to have problems for people who want to drill for oil? They drill for oil on that side of the world too. It's going to have problems for people who want to place their military assets there because they may say, oh, well, this place is very volatile and a lot of tsunamis could happen and earthquakes. Why? It's over there as well. But no, they didn't want any in this region. These are some of the things that they said. And suddenly, you know, questions arise about which territories and underwater resources might be vulnerable to unexpected natural disaster. It's going to derail their lucrative ventures. So there was none placed in this region here. This Caribbean, unfortunately, is often the site of what you call political, sometimes economic vulnerability. You hear me? And some of the governments have been hesitant to invest in large-scale infrastructure projects, especially when it will be expensive and technically challenging. But you know, a lot of them find money to waste, I can tell you that. The question is, could it be that in a region that already struggles with poverty and external pressures, the lack of a proper warning system serves as a purpose beyond mere oversight? That is a question I keep asking myself when I looked into this information. Because when you think about how certain global powers actively keep nations in the dark, imagine this, right? Imagine this scenario where those who are in control of weather manipulation technologies, and you know a lot of that going on right now, or even the seismic interventions, prefer to leave certain regions unguarded. Could it be that the Caribbean's lack of a warning system isn't due to incompetence, but it is in fact a deliberate act? Because some people are whispering who might want to keep the region volatile for their other reasons, with tsunamis being part of their chaotic landscape for control. Remember, if a people don't know, they don't have information in time, anything could happen, You hear me? And you must never forget that the geopolitical games that are played in this part of the world, there's a constant dance between the US, China, and various Latin American powers. We live in a very, very volatile place. It only looks like this, We don't have wars every Monday morning, but we live in a very volatile place, subjected to a lot of hurricanes, those natural disasters, and even those now, some of these natural disasters are being ramped up with the technology they have. It's a hell of a thing. But could the Caribbean's lack of preparation be used as a subtle form of population control or distraction from larger issues at hand? I ask myself all these questions. And while it is easy to dismiss, it's worth considering that more unpredictable a region is, the easier it is to maintain control over the people in that region. You must think about these things. You must think about these things. The more unpredictable a region is, the easier it is to maintain control over it. Sounds weird, right? But always I say, what if this gap, right? If this gap in preparedness isn't just a mistake? Because I ask these questions all the time. What if it's part of a larger, more calculated plan that keeps the Caribbean destabilized and dependent on external aid, thereby keeping it under the thumb of global superpowers? After all, chaos breeds power, It breeds power. We always have to be dependent on people for many things in the Caribbean. You notice that? But the Caribbean, people are now seeing how vulnerable the Caribbean region is. Back in the day when we didn't have a lot of information, we didn't think about a hurricane passed our way and, okay, that's not just a hurricane. Oh, we see how vulnerable it is now. We see how vulnerable it is now. So why is it that people, boy, sometimes I think the truth is buried deep underneath the surface, because we're talking about tsunamis here. And maybe much darker than anyone realizes, because the oceans have a lot of secrets there. Maybe one day the ocean itself will reveal all the information to us. And that's just hypothetical, But I'm saying to you today, when I took you back to the 1980s, you may not have known this, that the United Nations had pushed for a regional tsunami warning system in this region here, in this Caribbean here. And a lot of people opposed it, including the great United States of America. And I leave that right there. I am leaving that right there. The Bible says if anything is of good report, go think on those things. Go and think on those things. You hear me? And with that, I want to shift gears to Jamaica, because it was being said that the Jamaican people, they were not given any alert as to a warning. And this guy on the screen, Richard Thompson, he's the acting director of the, I think it's ODPM in Jamaica. You hear me? I want to go into something that he said in an interview with the Jamaica Information Service. He says that the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management in Jamaica says that the tsunami response protocol was triggered at the weekend. That's what he says. However, he said that data supplied by the Pacific Warning Center did not indicate a threat that warranted the issuance of a tsunami watch or warning. The tsunami response protocol following an earthquake of 7.6 southwest of Georgetown, Caymans. There was concern that the quake could trigger a tsunami, which is a wave generated after the coastal earthquake. And he went on to say a lot of other things. Speaking to the GIS, the director said, any earthquake that takes place at sea has the potential to create waves that can be destructive if it hit the shoreline. I want to go back to what he said up here. He said the data supplied by the Tsunami Warning Center did not indicate a threat that warranted the issuance of a tsunami watch or warning. This is what he said, But there was a tsunami warning and an advisory for Puerto Rico. There was one for the BVI, which is farther away from where the earthquake took place. There was one for Honduras, for Belize, Colombia, and so many other places. But here is someone in Jamaica saying to you that the data that they received, so where did the other people receive the data from? Nowhere. From the sky, they pulled it out of the sky. Remember, there is no tsunami warning system in the Caribbean. And these islands do not have their own tsunami warning system. So if he is saying that the data that they got from the Pacific warning system, where everybody else got that from, how could he say that they did not indicate a tsunami watch or warning? So why did the other islands go under tsunami advisory and warning? Why? Islands that were further away from the Cayman Islands. Jamaica is very close to the Cayman Islands. I'm sure many of you living in Jamaica could tell me how close the Jamaica is to the Cayman Islands. Why did the other islands further afield from the Cayman Islands decided to give an issue an advisory or watch or warning? But Jamaica did not, because he's saying that it did not indicate a watch or warning. Something does not sound right here. Something absolutely does not sound right here. But there's another part that I found very, very, very interesting. He says, this is what he says, He says, there are 4 levels that are involved. The notification of relevant. This is how it starts, right? There are 4 levels in this thing. 4 levels, he says. The first level involves the notification of relevant governmental stakeholders through a bulletin. You hear me? So if there's a tsunami warning pending for Jamaica, or tsunami warning for the Caribbean, where our islands are being warned, he says there are levels in Jamaica which they go through. The first one actually is for relevant governmental stakeholders through a bulletin. And he says, this is what he says, once we pick up the information from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, there's an earthquake in the region that has the potential to create a tsunami. The notification went out away to all the players in the process, he said. So within that process, he says the ODPEM, within its capacity at the National Tsunami Warning Center and head of the NEOC, you have the Meteorological Service, which is the national focal point. You have the Jamaica Constabulary. You have the local ports, the fisheries. You have the Ministers of Government, Health, other agencies, he further noted. So the first person in Jamaica, if a tsunami warning is issued for the Caribbean and different islands in the Caribbean, because something occurs in the Caribbean Sea. In Jamaica, there are levels to the warning. And the first set of people who get warning are governmental people. The people who are ministers of government, Jamaica Police, the Port Authority, these are the first people who get warning. I don't know how long it will take, he didn't mention it, for the levels of warning to go down piece by piece. He didn't say how long it takes. I don't know if it's 15 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, or a minute. I don't know how it goes, but this is what he said. These are the first people to know. So the government ministers know. So if they want to shift out and shift to higher ground, they can run before you know. The second level is the process of the issuance of the tsunami advisory, followed by, followed by finally a tsunami warning. The public will be notified at level 3. So do you understand what is happening here? All these people know. All these people know before you. Police, the government ministers, the people in agencies. And of course, rightly so. We understand that. But you in Jamaica are third on the two-tin pole to know. I don't know how long it takes for the information to get to the public. But clearly, Saturday night, It took a very, very, very long time for the information to get to the public. As a matter of fact, the opposition said it never got to the public because some people said they did not hear anything about a warning for Jamaica. That is what the gentleman is saying here. You understand what I'm saying here? So the public is the last to know based on what Mr. Thompson from the ODPEM is saying. But he's saying that Jamaica's earthquake and tsunami response remains robust and that they are ready to respond in an event. That's what he's basically saying. But the levels here are something else to behold. I don't know how long it takes, but the levels here are crazy. For me, there should be no level when it comes to these things. There should be a warning for everybody at the same time. Hear what I'm saying? Some people may say that may create confusion, but that is not confusion. What I'm saying is that you issue the bulletin across the board at the same time. But there are people who can disseminate certain things to the different organizations at the very same time as well. So one person will speak to the public at the same time, one person speaking with the government officials at the same time. So basically it's happening at the same time. Nobody should be left for second, third, and fourth stage to know anything. These things are absolutely wrong. That's all I'm saying. But you know, this is how it is in our Caribbean. And sometimes in all societies where you have a certain class of people who people think should know certain things first than other people. You understand what I'm saying to you? When some people already made plans to get away and escape, the rest of us on the plantations would be notified. You understand? When the masters decide to move ahead, after that they will notify us that the plantation is on fire. If we get burned, we get burned. If we get saved, we get saved. That's what it is in This Is a Place. It's sad to know that after all these years that this is slavery have been abolished, that we're still meeting with the same slavery in the Caribbean here today. Today, not the white ones, but the black ones are the oligarchs today who control their black people like the same slave masters did in a different manner. It's very, very sad. Very, very sad. But I tell you this, I tell you all something. Look at this. That's why I kind of went back to the first thing that he said. This was very surprising to me. He said that the data supplied by the Pacific Warning Center did not indicate a threat that warranted the issuance of a tsunami watch or a warning. That's what he said. That sounded very strange to me. Because why would someone say that it did not warrant a warning or watch or even an advisory when so many islands further away from Cayman Islands, like the BVI and many others, Colombia, will put on a warning and a watch. Look at where, let me see if I could get this in on the screen for you. This is wholly crazy. It's craziness you call us. Craziness you call this. Look at this. Look at this. I'm gonna put something here for you. Look at this. Let me see if I could get this photo up here for you so that you could actually see what I'm talking about. Take a look at this photo, right? And tell me, where is Jamaica in the scheme of things compared to the BVI? Look at this photo. Look at that. Look at that photo right there. Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico and the BVI had a advisory and warning, you know. Look at where Jamaica is. And look at what the Cayman Islands is. And he said that the information they got from the Pacific warning system did not indicate a threat or warning to Jamaica, or warning to issue anything for Jamaica. That sounds crazy. That doesn't sound normal. I think sometimes when people are caught off guard, they're not doing their jobs, they tend to create a scenario. You understand what I'm saying? But that's what it is. That's what it is. Listen to me. Pain, my friend. Pain. Let me tell you something, right? Pain is in the comment section. I think Pain Max, my good buddy there. He says, no storm, not doing nothing to Jamaica or Trini. We good. God's hands is over the lands. Let me tell you something, my friend. God's hands is everywhere. Everywhere. But knowing the man he is, and knowing the being that he is, and knowing the being that God is, when it's your turn, it's your turn. A lot of people used to say that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is God's country. And he's a Vincentian. Because all hurricanes and storms would come and turn north, even when they're heading here. Even with Ivan, they said Ivan was heading to St. Vincent, Barbados the night. And then the morning we got up, they said Ivan is now heading to Grenada. You hear me? But Beryl came out of nowhere and gave St. Vincent a beating that he never expected to receive. He's also a God of wrath. He's also a God of wrath. And I can tell you, the times in which we are living in, you can be sure every living creature, every being, every nation on earth will feel his wrath. Take it from me. Take it from me. I want you all to take a good look at what is happening in the United States of America. A lot of people don't think and believe in anything the Most High says, Some people do, some people don't. You hear me? Hurricane Gilbert came to Jamaica. Remember that hurricane? Right. He's a God. And I'll tell you something. A lot of people don't believe in what is taking place in this world from a spiritual aspect. I'm going to tell you something. Everything you see taking place right here on this earth here right now happens in the spiritual before it manifests in the physical. Spiritual things are spiritually discerned. If you not have a spiritual nature, you won't discern it. This whole entire Caribbean, is not the Caribbean that you and I used to know, you and I grew up in. I'm not sure how old everybody is on this live. But I'm sure you guys maybe in the 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s. This is not the Caribbean that we knew. Just last week, you were talking about USAID using taxpayers' money in the United States to fund LGBTQ in the Caribbean. You hear me? Just last week we were talking about that. $3 million taxpayers' money to fund LGBTQ rights in the Caribbean, to make the boys and girls here be gay. Let's put it like that. Let's talk it blatant. Let's say that it is. And I thought that there would have been a lot of outrage in the Caribbean over that. Well, some people were angry that we brought it up. Some people didn't care. That is the time in which we live. All those things were foretold in the scriptures. That is why none of them surprise me. None of them surprise me. But I just wanted to give the update on what Rowley said and what was said in Jamaica and what is going on around the place. Yes, pain. That's right. It is. That's what it is. $3 million. You understand? To turn boys and girls gay in the Caribbean. Taxpayers' money. And they said 1.5 went directly to Jamaica. You didn't see that? You didn't hear about that news? It's somewhere wrong. Somewhere wrong. I quite sure that I had a recording of it somewhere wrong. It was all over the news, my friend. All over the news. All over the news. Things are happening, my friend. Things are happening. I was gonna look for that, but I gonna. So let me big up all those in the chat right now. Payne, top of the evening to you. Chelsea Blue, Adriana Wilson, Annette Barron, Nehemiah. Let me see who else is in there. Shada, SP. Let me see who else is inside there. Let's who else is on the live. Let's who is in the live. Jevan Juke. That's right, in the live with us this afternoon. Ann Lewis in the live. Ann, how you doing? Shy there. And Dawn Nelson. SKB Energy is in the live. That's right. I'm bigging up all my friends in the live today. Shepherd's News of Elohim. Yeah. And there's Top Baller as well. He's in there. He's with us. Good to have you. Sherry is inside there as well. Good to have you with us. And so, my friends, after all of this has been discussed, I'm going to open the lines now for you to call me. If you want to share a point with me, the number is right there on the screen. The number is, let me put it up there, make sure you can see it so that you can interact with me as well.
Canada, happy birthday.
All right. Let me just get that up there for you. I think something cut inside there. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right. So let me get that ready. So you can call me at any time that you need to. The number 784-533-9260. You can call me live. You can call me on the WhatsApp. Doesn't matter. I will take your call and we can interact on the topics that we just talked about a while ago. First, we looked at the tsunami warning system, how it operates. And I said to you that the recorder sits on the bed, the seabed. It sends data to the buoy. The buoy has an antenna. It transmits the data to the satellite, and the satellite sends the information back to Earth. And that is how you get your information as to what is happening in terms of a tsunami. This is the information right there for those of you who were asking for it. This is how it operates. All right. So if we had a system in the Caribbean, this is exactly what it would look like. And we would get the information as quickly as possible. That is exactly how it would look if we had a warning system in the Caribbean. All right. So I'm just highlighting that for you earlier. Also, I told you that Mr. Rowley was saying that the Caribbean was very lucky. And he is correct. And also, I talked to you about what was happening with the information coming out of Jamaica. All right? Right. And also, we talked about the U.S. aid money. You know, that U.S. aid money is a hell of a thing. A lot of people apparently are upset over that U.S. aid money. I want to ask you guys a question. I want to ask you a genuine question here. And I want to say, if you're living in Trinidad, if you're living in Barbados, if you're living in Guyana, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, any one of these Caribbean islands, and one day government wake up and say, I am going to take money from the treasury, right? And send it to someplace in Asia to help boys and girls over there turn to a gay lifestyle. Tell me, how would you feel? If the government of Jamaica was to get up one morning and say, I'm going to take 2 billion off the treasury and send it to somewhere in Africa to help some of those countries turn their boys and girls gay. Transgender. How would you feel? I want to hear from you. I think this is a discussion that we need to have. Because I'll tell you something, eh? The money that was coming from USA, it was twofold, eh? On one hand, it was genuinely helping persons with HIV drugs. It was doing school feeding programs in the Caribbean. It was doing a lot of different things. But also, it had a nasty side to it, a dark side to it. And I think that any government that wants to clean up their books, I am all for it with them. I don't have a problem if the United States want to go look into where their money is being spent. And if it's being spent wrongly, they have a right to do what they have to do. I don't have one problem with the United States doing that. They said that they're going to pause, and they're putting a 90-day pause on what the USA is doing and to find out how the money is being spent. I have absolutely no problem with that. And if my government, if your government was taking your taxpayers' dollar and sending it to some far off land to hold a drag show, a drag queen show for men to be walking in swimsuits on a stage, you would have been upset if you found that out. If you government get up one morning and start sending money to some far off land to help boys and girls turn them into trans and all kind of stuff, you would have been angry. I think we all have to agree to disagree that Americans voted for Trump to do what he said he would do, and he's doing it. He may have a wrong way of doing things based on our perception of life, but that's what they want to do, and they voted for that. There's not much we can do about it. But I'm happy to know today that we are hearing some issues coming out of the great United States of America about money and what money's been doing. I have noticed I have seen over the last set of years, a lot of groups have been popping up in the Caribbean talking about LGBT and LGBT. I used to wonder where they were getting money from. Now I know. It's good to know. And yes, Libyan, Trinidad sends money to CARICOM all the time to help. That's a fact. So I see no issue with other countries helping. That's Trump propaganda. Listen to me. If you listen to congressional hearings in the United States of America, don't be so quick to pick up on things. You hear me? If you listen to congressional hearings, you will hear these documents being brought to light, these things coming out from senators, congressmen. They're having Senate hearings. These things are coming to light. These things are not propaganda. They're coming to light. It's not propaganda. United States, and that's why I said earlier, Libyan, United States can help, and that's not a problem. I don't have an issue with the US helping other countries. They should help. They've done a lot to destroy other people, so they should help people. What I'm saying is that the United States government has a right to see how its books, as money is being spent. If it's wasted on certain things, they have a right to stop it. And I agree with them on that. And no money should be spent from any country to turn boys and girls, who should be boys and girls, to turn them into a girl into a boy and a boy into a girl. No money should be spent like that. I agree with them. Stop it. $6 million gone to Ecuador to help men walk on stage in a jack show. What the hell is that? You would take your money from your pocket and send it for somebody to have a drag show? What garbage is that? Gotta get real. Gotta get real in this place, my friends. These things are upsetting to the spirit. Very upsetting. I tell you all something. I go to the United States. I live in the United States. I live in the Caribbean. Some of these things are not new to me. I knew they were happening, some of them. To the extent they were happening, I did not know, but I knew some of them were happening. Okay? See, and there we go. That is the issue we are having. If we're having a sensible discussion, let's have a sensible discussion, Libya. Don't say the next hurricane that happens in the Caribbean. Don't get upset if the US doesn't help. The US did not say it's not gonna help anybody. It said that they're doing a pause to see where money has been going, and rightly they have a right to do that. If you're having a sensible debate, let's have a sensible debate and don't get too upset. All right? Let's not get like that. We're a very good community here and we think things rational. Don't jump down that line and get upset. And that is why I urge people not to take sides when it comes to politics, because that is exactly what happens when you take sides with politics. That is exactly what happens. Be careful, my friend. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here. And I want to thank you guys. I don't know if you need to call in. The lines are open. I think it's better sometimes if we have a discussion and I hear from you. So the lines are open. You can actually call. The number is 784-533-9260. Right? And let's hear from you. I think there are a lot of people online who wish to make a point. All right? I think there is a lot of people online who wish to make a point. Payne, give us a call. Let's discuss these things. Chelsea Blue, give us a call. Libyan, give us a call. Sharpie, give us a call. Let's talk about these things. The lines are open now for you. Yeah, you could call me via WhatsApp or you can call me directly. Yeah, Payne says next time. Don't be afraid, Don't be afraid, my friend. I like to engage with my people. I like to engage with them. There are a lot of things that are going on wrong in this world. Let us not be caught up in them. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eyes on the prize. Don't take sides with politics and politicians. They can lead you astray. They can allow you not to think straight. You have to be able to think analytically. And with that, I'm going to say that all right, I'm going to say good day to everybody. I want to thank you guys for joining me. It has been a blessing as always, to bring information to you, and always good to hear from you, and the discussions are always great. Sending money to destroy another country is not something I subscribe to. And sending money to delete what the Most High has instituted on earth, that's a man and a woman, is also something I do not subscribe to. Someone was asking me about the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And someone was saying that Chateauyear, because they were asking why is it that Vincentians don't have a fighting spirit anymore. Someone was saying to me that Chateauyear fought until he died. And Chateauyear, who's the national hero of St. Vincent, was a Garifuna. They said he fought until he died against the British. And then the British took the other people and just shipped them off to Rattan Island. I understand that there was a documentation, and I'm going to try and get it. It's very old, that said that history was wrong. They were saying that the people sold out Chateauyear to the British, and that's why they killed him. And sometimes without seeing that document, I'm almost tend to think that history may have been correct. You know why? Because the fighting spirit that Vincentians used to have, they don't have it anymore. It's almost like some demonic spirit has taken over the country. The people are baffled, they're daft, and they don't fight for anything anymore. And I intend to go look for that document because I believe in that, even though I don't see it. I tend to believe it based on what I'm seeing and how the Vincentians are behaving these days. I tend to believe that document that they say exists. I tend to believe so. So I will go and look for it. I'll talk about that one of these days. But anyway, guys, brothers and sisters, as they usually say, my good friends, have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again some other time. Thanks for being a part of this community, and thanks for sharing your points and opinions. Remember to keep it good as we continue to help one another to build this Caribbean nation of ours, this Caribbean region of ours. All right? Take it easy.